somehow.
But, well, not somehow.
That makes no sense.
Dude, I would take less sacks than Caleb did if I had the Texans' offensive line. Just because I wouldn't want to get hit.
No sense.
I'd be scared.
Yeah, I'd be scared.
I'd get benched. On the field, he was a top 10, like 10th best quarterback.
I disagree. I think as soon as he hit the playoffs, he looked like a bottom 10 quarterback.
Okay.
That counts.
Okay, you love Justin Herbert.
The 2-minute warning.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the 2-Minute Warning Podcast. Today we're going to be ranking every projected starter heading into next year's NFL season. We're going to go by fives for the most part, and this is a no projection list, so we're only doing it based on what they are right now, not what we think they're going to be next season. We'll do that sort of list later in the offseason, but without further ado, let's just hop right into it. Maye, start us off with 32 to 25 on your list.
All right, well, at number 32, I got Tyler Shuck. I don't know how much arguments we can have here. I mean, he's terrible, awful prospect, and he's a rookie, which means that he's obviously not going to be that good when he first steps on the field. 31, Mason Rudolph. 30, Anthony Richardson. 29, J.J. McCarthy. 28, Kenny Pickett. 27, Cam Ward. 26, Justin Fields. And you wanted to do 25 as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wait, no, just 26.
26, okay.
You're right. Okay. Mine are very similar, obviously. There's not much discussion to have here. 32, Tyler Shuck, terrible. 31, I have Anthony Richardson because I think he's awful. It was between him and Shuck, and I was like, well, at least he can run. And then 30, I have J.J. McCarthy. 29, I have Kenny Pickett. And 28, I have Mason Rudolph. 27, I also have Cam Ward. So,
dude, you love, wait, which one was it? Oh, Mason Rudolph.
No, I don't. I just think everybody else
really
is
high.
so bad. So the little conversation we can have is that Mason Rudolph obviously is higher for me than for you. I think the biggest thing for me there, the reason I have that is because Anthony Richardson and Tyler Shuck are obviously my bottom two to me because I don't think that they can throw a football. Like, I think that Anthony Richardson's a runner. Like, yeah, he's got a nice deep ball, but he's got a higher completion there than at the line of scrimmage, which is just how is that even possible? And Tyler Shuck is terrible. Mason Rudolph has shown that he can play at a below average level before. So that makes him better than these two guys, in my opinion. He's played in a playoff game. So if I had to choose one to play for me in an important game right now, out of those three, I'm taking Mason Rudolph.
I'm not, honestly, Anthony Richardson, I feel like his
You
rushing
could run a
ability,
wildcat.
yeah, it raises the floor of your offense to some degree.
I agree, but still in a bigger game, like, I take the experience with them both being bad, you know?
I don't know.
It's very close though. Like these all suck. Like it's not like a
Yeah.
huge problem, but
Who's 26 for you?
did I not say 26?
Who was it?
It's Caleb Williams.
Oh yeah, you did not say that.
Yeah.
That's pretty surprising. I think we should have a conversation then?
For some reason I thought we were gonna go to 27. Yeah, I'm guessing Caleb's higher on your list, but not that much.
Is.
Yeah, well, but not by that much.
Yeah. Well, obviously he's in my next section.
Yeah. The reason I have him here is because I think if you put him above the next two or three guys, I'm okay with that. But my problem with him is just like because this isn't a projection list. Obviously, if we're talking about the next few guys, I think he has the potential to be way better than those guys. Like he's got a great arm, but ultimately, I'm looking at, the way I kind of looked at this list is like, if I need them to win me one game right now, who do I trust the most? Because it's basically playing right now. Mm-hmm. And that factors into like, what have they shown me with how many weapons they have? What have they shown me with, their ability to process a defense, to not turn the ball over? All these things factor into it right this second and not their potential. And Caleb is so much of like, we think he's going to be good. People think he's going to be good. And he's not there right now. I know a lot of box score watchers love looking at the stats and saying, oh, he only threw, I think, 5-6 picks last season. So people love seeing that. But to me, that doesn't matter because ultimately you took 72 sacks while your offensive line had an above average line in every single pass blocking metric that you can measure. So I think it's actually insane to take 72 sacks or whatever it was. Like, that's an insane amount of sacks. And yes, you're not turning the ball over, but you are essentially turning the ball over by having 4th and 30 every single play.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, sacks kill drives. That is so underrated. Would you rather have a 60-yard pick that is basically an arm punt or a sack and then a punt? Mm-hmm. It's like the same thing. Actually, I think the arm punt is actually better if it's 60 yards.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Like, he's obviously keeping his pure passing stats clean, but he's not leading your team. He's not helping your team out, not making plays he needs to win the games. And I think, he's the weapons, the new offensive coordinator. Everybody thinks he's going to take that step, and that's factoring into these lists, which obviously we're not trying to do that. Similar with J.J. McCarthy, I think he'll easily end the season way above 29 just because of Kevin O'Connell and his supporting cast. Like Sam Darnold looked like a top 10 quarterback. So I don't know. JJ McCarthy's obviously going to be above 29, but
Yeah, for sure.
that's just not what we're doing right now.
No, yeah, and that's exactly why I have Caleb here. I don't trust him to win a game for me over the next few guys, even though it's close. I think there's at least one thing that the rest of these guys bring to the table for me. We'll talk about them when I get to my next group, obviously. But there's at least one thing about them that they bring to the table where I'm like, okay, I can use that. With Caleb, it's like, obviously you got his arm, but his arm is so hindered by his brain and how he's not willing to get rid of the ball. And like these other guys, they have something like, I'll just tell you right now, Fields is in the next group, which is a little bit higher than you, but Fields, I can work with his legs and his ability, his natural ability, and it doesn't get hindered by the fact that he takes so many sacks or whatnot, like as much. If I'm making any sense, I don't know, but like Caleb's one thing that he has that's above these other guys, I feel like he's not letting himself use almost because he's not playing quarterback. He's kind of just taking the sacks. So these other guys, I at least can get them to start moving and try to move the ball down the field.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
But, yeah, I don't know if there's anybody else. Obviously, Pickett's low for a good reason. I'm not a J.J. McCarthy guy, and he hasn't even played a snap. So, like, I was like, I can't put him any higher than this. But all these guys are just really bad, in my opinion. Cam Ward obviously hasn't played a snap. He told me before we started recording that he thought I was going to have Cam Ward lower than him. But
well, I thought that you were going to be like, well, he hasn't played a snap, so you're going to put him, like, below, like way lower.
But to put him any lower, he has to be, like really bad. Like all these guys are like terrible quarterbacks. So that's why he's there. Because even if he's like a bottom half of the league starter, he's above these guys. So like you can be a bottom 6 starter and make my list. So or make it to the same spot. So that's why I put him that high. But we can move on to the next group if you're ready for that.
At 25, I got Trevor Lawrence. 24, Caleb Williams. 23, Geno Smith. 22, Tua. And 21, Michael Penix.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, pretty similar again, just a couple different spots. 25, I also Trevor Lawrence. 24, I swapped Bryce Young with Caleb Williams. Or, sorry, not Bryce Young. I meant Justin Fields.
Oh.
Justin Fields with Caleb Williams. So Caleb Williams is 26, and for you, 24, Fields is swapped. 23, I have Bryce Young.
Oh, dude.
22, I have Geno Smith. 21, I have Sam Darnold. And that was it, right? We only went to 21. So we'll talk about Lawrence first since we have him in the same spot. Lawrence is not good. I don't know why people still think he's a franchise guy. I can't believe he's being paid $50 million. That's not talked about enough as one of the worst contracts in the league,
It's
by the way.
56.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. It's like the most paid, isn't it?
It's
now that
second.
Dak's...
It's tied second.
Yeah, it's second now that Dak's gone, right? But, like, that's insanity to me. Like,
I mean, Love is put in those conversations as the most overpaid player more than Trevor Lawrence.
And then Lawrence is there. And it's like I'm not a big Love guy, but, like, he is... It's not even, like, in the same conversation, close. Right? So it's, like... Lawrence is just, like, I don't see anything special with him. I kind of just see him as, like, at best, he can be, like, a below-average game manager. And, like, being a game manager, we've talked about this many times before. Like, being a game manager isn't a bad thing because game managers help you win a lot of the time. I think that Tom Brady is the best example of the most elite game manager you could have.
Because, same with, like, Drew Brees.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good quarterbacks that are game managers. But it can be a negative thing if that's the only thing that you can do. Tom Brady could also go out there and win you the game. Drew Brees could go out there and win you the game. Trevor Lawrence can't. But he's also not good at managing the game. He's a game manager but can't manage the game. So I just don't like him.
I kind of disagree with that a little bit just because I think he has potential. He's got a great arm. His legs are super underrated.
That's true.
But,
I do like his legs.
Obviously, he still has not figured out how to process the field. His accuracy is definitely not good at all. And it feels like people are just boosting him up because he's getting paid a lot. He was a former number 1 overall pick, hyped up prospect. And he's shown some flashes, which, did he show flashes last year? I feel like maybe it was 2 years ago was his best year. Yeah. Am I right? Like, I don't know. He just has never had an elite year, so I don't know why he's high on, like, so many lists.
I feel like after they beat the Chargers, people just started, like, wigging out about him, but I feel like most of that's not even from him. But obviously, we agree on that, so we can move on. Fields, we're very similar on. I just put him 2 spots higher because I think with his running ability, like, he's still got a great arm. He just kind of similar to Lawrence where he hasn't figured out how to use it necessarily. Obviously, he's been in the league a while, the same amount of time as Lawrence, and it's like you guys are kind of out of time at this point. But the reason I put him 1 spot above is because he's also got better legs than Lawrence. I mean, that's undebatable. And while Lawrence probably has a better arm and definitely knows how to use it better than Fields, I think there's flashes of Fields where you're like, holy crap. Like, what comes to mind immediately is that throw against the Broncos where it got called back because of the right tackle holding. where he threw it to Pickens and just like right over Surtain playing perfect coverage into Pickens' arms, and it's like holy crap, like on the run, rolling right, 50 yards downfield, and it's like why? Where does that come from? And if he could figure out how to process the field a little bit better, he has so much potential. But now it's like dude, you're out of time. Like if you're not taking a ginormous step this season with the Jets, like you're not starting ever again. So that's why obviously he's down here. I think Fields still has a chance this season to put some stuff together, save his career, but like I said, like really running out of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously he's just not that good. He's never been phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
He just has like the breakaway runs,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of propped him up his whole career. I don't know. Obviously, I did have Trevor Lawrence one spot above just because Trevor Lawrence is clearly a superior passer, but
yeah, I mean
it's not saying that much.
I really think Fields has the potential to be a better passer. I know it's crazy, but I think he could be.
Well, he could be,
but it's like, dude, like I don't think he has time to figure it out anymore, especially not on the Jets. Like the Jets aren't going to help you figure it out. But let's talk about your least favorite one on my list, Bryce Young at 23. So I'm guessing you have him quite a bit higher because you like glazed Bryce Young for some reason. But the reason I have him here is because, I mean, there's a reason he got benched in the beginning half of the season. He looked horrible. We all know that. I think he got benched in 2 games, which is insane. That you look that bad and get benched that fast. Just the first thing that comes to mind is opening weekend playing against the Saints. Like, holy crap. And the Saints suck. So it's like, that looks terrible. Obviously, he came back and played a lot better, but playing a lot better wasn't playing great football or anything. It was just playing better than the worst quarterback in the NFL. So I think, like, while he looked, like, he showed flashes of looking okay in those times. I mean, what comes to mind is the Eagles game where he really did clutch up and went down the field before Xavier Legette dropped a game-winning touchdown. I remember watching that game with you, and it was just like, bro, no way he dropped that. And there are plays like that, and don't get me wrong, he has a terrible supporting cast and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's kind of crazy to put him higher just because you're projecting him to keep getting better.
Not, though. I put him in a spot where I'm like, this is where he is right now.
Yeah, I know, but like to me, this is where he is. Like I can't put him above Geno, I can't put him above Sam, who are both are above him on my list, because I think that they are better right this second. And while Bryce could still get better, I don't see him getting much better than 20th in the league. I just don't see like a path for him. I don't know. He doesn't get a ton of yards, obviously, and it's not like you only have to have stats to be a good quarterback, but you want to be able to push the ball down the field, and he's not able to do that consistently. And while he's shown somewhat of a clutch gene at some points, which is obviously important, it's not like he's like unbelievably clutch or anything. He doesn't push the ball down the field a ton. He doesn't get a lot of points on the board a ton of the time. Like he had a couple good games this season, but that's not enough for me to put you higher than these other guys who are at least proven. Like Sam Darnold looked like a top 10 quarterback last year. Obviously, I have him all the way down at 21 because I think not being on the Vikings, I feel like the Vikings kind of hit him a lot, and we saw that in the playoffs. But even Geno Smith, who I just think is better than him right now. Obviously turns the ball over more, but I think I'm more confident in him pushing down the ball down the field and everything. And just a lot more like that. And so I think with Bryce Young, it's like he's got some things there that you can work with, but you have a lot of developing to do, and he's got to take a big step this year, in my opinion, or he's just never going to work. And I just think, like I said, he doesn't push the ball down the field enough for me to be confident in him to win me games.
But he actually does push the ball downfield.
No, Chuba Hubbard does.
No, he was statistically one of the, I think his rate was top 5 in putting the ball 20-plus yards downfield. Like
he was throws?
Pushing, yeah.
No, I'm talking about like actually pushing the ball down the field. I'm not talking about on a single throw, but I'm talking about drives. Like moving your team down the field on multiple drives.
He was moving his team down the field. And you can say Hubbard was a big part of that.
Except we know he wasn't, because that's where yards come into play, is where if you have he averaged 170 yards a game last season. Averaged.
Yeah, that's because he had games where he had like -2 yards because he played
like
2
snaps.
Bro,
that does not count. It's not counting that. But
pretty sure it is.
But my point that multiple quarterbacks have that, and people don't have like 170
That's because
yards a game.
Bryce Young's. If you're playing 15 games in, like, let's say you had 2 extra games that you kind of played in, and we average it out to 17, it's not going to take a big hit. With Bryce, when he played, what is it, like 8 or 9 games?
Bro played 13 games, I think.
Yeah, because you're counting those games, and that changes the average a lot.
No, the thing is like still, even if you take those games away, he's averaging under 200 yards a game.
Okay, well,
and that's terrible. That is really bad.
He is a player. You can't just look at the yards and be
exactly.
like, he's not pushing the ball downfield. He's not taking chances.
But that's why I said
he is.
That's why I said I'm not saying he's not taking chances. I'm saying he's not able to push the ball down the field because he's not consistent enough. No, he's not consistent enough.
he is consistent. He's one of the more consistent quarterbacks.
I
when
completely
he came
disagree.
back.
I think at the end of games, he showed signs of being that quarterback, like being a quarterback that can win you a game. But then, like, he doesn't do it the rest of the game, and he doesn't do it every game. So it's like that is not a quarterback that's above 23 for me. I think 23 is a perfect spot for him because he's fine, but he's nothing special at all. And to say otherwise is crazy. He has to take a giant step this season in order to keep this job and make the Panthers confident that this is their guy. Because right now, he is not their guy.
Well, I just think that you're putting his season from last season down so far that you're saying he has to take a giant jump. He doesn't.
Yes,
he was a number 1 overall pick. Trevor Lawrence has never had a stretch like Bryce Young had. Like, ever. And I know that, like, I'm not saying Bryce Young's stretch was, like, phenomenal. It was really good.
And I hate Trevor Lawrence. He's 25.
Yeah, but, like, there's a reason why Trevor Lawrence still has a job. He's getting paid $56 million per year.
That's because people think he's good. He won a playoff game. Has Bryce Young won a playoff game?
No, because he can't, because his team sucks.
So they will be more willing to move on from him than a guy who's won them 2 playoff games and all their fans love.
And you're saying he can't make the big throws? He was one of only...
I never said that.
You said something like that. Like, he's not making these throws to, like, push the ball down the field.
No, I said he's not able... Okay.
He is.
I'm saying he's not moving the ball down the field. I'm not saying he's not throwing the ball deep. I know he throws the ball deep. I'm not saying that. He doesn't do it that often, first of all. Second of all, that's not what I was saying at all. I'm saying he doesn't put drives together consistently. Most of the game that you watch the Panthers, outside of the Falcons game, which was terrible, the Falcons defense was terrible.
Okay, I was like,
Well, besides the Falcons defense being terrible, because Bo Nix did the exact same thing where he just sliced up the Falcons defense, but no one cares because no one cares about slicing up the Falcons defense. But besides that game, most of the game, it is a terrible showing from the Panthers offense, and they have to do something at the very end of the game to come back, like the Eagles game, where
oh wow, they couldn't be above the Eagles.
Like the Eagles game where they held the Eagles offense to 13 points, and Bryce Young could not win. And yes, because of the factors of Xavier Legette dropping a game-winning touchdown. But my point is, if Bryce Young was as high as you're going to have him on this list, which
I do not have him
which is top 20, they would have been able to score more than 6 points before that. Because he was not able to score a touchdown in that game until Xavier Legette dropped one, which should have been a touchdown. Because he's not able to put any consistency together until the very end of the game when he has to score. And I want a quarterback that's going to be consistent, not just only shows up every once in a while. And when he shows up, it's not anything phenomenal like you said.
I didn't say it was phenomenal, but he was second in the league in big-time throw percentage. He was the only one besides Josh Allen above 7%, which is actually insane.
Yeah, because his team's always losing, so he needs to make big-time throws. That's what the stat comes from.
Big-time throws.
No, the big-time throw percentage comes mostly when you're down.
It's throws that are difficult, like a certain difficulty. It's not throws that are like
you
make a screen pass in 4th and 1 or whatever.
Well, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying big-time throws are like somewhat difficult throws in big moments.
It's difficult, like very difficult throws in any moment.
Okay, well, my point is, like I said, he just isn't consistent enough for me. And you said it's not phenomenal when he shows his flashes, and I agree, it's not. But he doesn't show them enough for me to be like, that's okay. But it's not phenomenal.
Yeah,
he's not phenomenal, and he's inconsistent.
It sounds like we're arguing about like the 14th best quarterback, and you have him at 23. Like it sounds like we're saying he does not deserve to be in the higher tier of guys that you want to be your starter. That's what you sound like.
I'm arguing that he's not he's like right below average. I think there's a lot of average in the league. Like Geno Smith and Sam Darnold to me are like the definition of average.
Geno is literally a worse version of what Bryce Young does for the Panthers. He is. Oh, actually, I cannot have Geno as my quarterback. That is my thing. Just because of he can push the ball downfield, he can move the ball, but he's the worst red zone quarterback I've ever watched.
True, but at least he gets there.
Yeah, but that is what is like frustrating about Geno. Like I
agree.
See
That's why
how
he's
you can
22.
have Geno.
That's why he's 22.
You have Geno above Bryce.
But that's the exact reason I have him 22 is because I value getting to the red zone more than losing when you're in the red zone. Because Bryce Young doesn't even get to that point where he can try to lose in the red zone. He just doesn't get to the red zone. And Geno gets there a ton.
Geno has JSN, DK Metcalf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. And he's only one spot. You're acting like it's like a crazy difference.
I think
it's one spot. And like the thing with Geno is like, I think if Geno was my quarterback, I'm trying to win one game. I'm taking Geno because he can push me into the red zone, and then I can just run the ball and hope for the best and kick field goals. I'm not letting him turn the ball over in the red zone, and that's still going to score me more points than Bryce Young's leading my offense.
That's crazy.
It is. It's true.
Oh, my gosh.
It's very true.
We should probably move on. We've not spent even half this much time on any other quarterback.
Well, who was your 22 and 21? You had Sam Darnold in there, right?
I had Tua at 22. Have you said Tua yet?
No, Tua's 20. He's next for me.
Okay. I guess it's not that bad. Never mind.
Yeah, that's.
I was like kind of surprised you haven't said. And then Penix was 21.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's interesting that you haven't said him yet. Actually, it's not. But
We don't go further than that. We didn't go further than that.
Yeah, we didn't go further.
But, okay, so yeah, we basically agree on Sam Darnold. He's not that good without the Vikings. Even with the Vikings, like, he really held their team back, in my opinion. I know most people that didn't think that for some reason, but we saw it in the playoffs. Like, he looked so bad. Just cannot handle an interior rush to save his life. Don't know how he's going to survive on the Seahawks. Yes, they got Gray's able, but it's like, he's a rookie.
And they have no one else.
You're trusting his life in the rookie's hands, who you reached on, technically. But, like, I don't know. I think that he's just not that good. Like, he's just kind of mid, in my opinion. Like, he's got a good arm and stuff, but I would never want him to be my quarterback. I'm definitely trying to rebuild if he's my quarterback. Not paying him $110 million, that's for sure.
Okay.
What?
Interesting. I don't know. I think that... Wait, did you have Darnold over Gino?
Yeah, one spot.
Okay.
Why?
I was just curious just because, like, you know...
You said Gino, right? Already?
Yeah.
Okay, because you have Gino behind
Yeah,
Darnold?
I think Gino's obviously behind Darnold.
So Gino's one spot behind Darnold?
No, I haven't said Darnold yet. And Gino's 23.
You haven't said Darnold?
No.
Oh, why did I think you did? Okay, that's interesting. So, okay. Very interesting, very interesting. So, is there anybody else you want to talk about before we move to the next?
I think we talked about everybody besides Penix, and I kind of want to save that conversation.
Yeah, and Tua, technically.
And Tua, but
we're about to talk about him anyway. So, 20 for me is Tua, 19 is Drake Maye.
Whoa.
We're talking about right now. 18 is Michael Penix, 17 is Brock Purdy, 16 is Russell Wilson.
I think I have a lot of issues with this list.
Okay.
I think the rest of your list hasn't been that bad besides Bryce, but that's pretty bad in my opinion. 20, I got Russ. I know you're going to be really mad about that for some reason. That makes no sense. 19 is Purdy, 18 is Darnold, 17 is Bryce, and 16 is Kyler Murray.
What the hell is wrong with you?
What do you mean?
Okay, so let's start off with Tua at 20. You have him at 22. He just isn't anything special. Barely stay on the field. He's sometimes accurate. I feel like his accuracy is really overrated, to be honest.
His completion percentage is like so propped up by like the scheme
A-chain.
And like all the A-chain gets literally. I don't know how many
I think
catches.
he averages 6 or 7 a game. I had him on my fantasy team.
I think it was 6.6 or something. I saw that when Tua starts.
Yeah,
and that's one of your running backs.
His completion percentage, that's why his accuracy gets overrated for 100%. But I don't see anything special in him. He's fine though, and like he's shown he can win sometimes. So I was like, I guess 20. I didn't I'm fine with you putting him 22. I just think he's not that good. Drake Maye at 19. Obviously, you don't even have him in your top or bottom 16 or whatever. You have him higher than.
We'll talk about him in the next group, obviously.
Yeah, but I want to talk about what I think about him, and that's that I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to be a great quarterback. I think a lot of people think that right now, and I think that makes perfect sense. Obviously, there's some red flags that you hope get solved, but just like with any young quarterback. And his red flags are the most fixable one, which is you turn the ball over too much. That's like, if I had to choose a red flag in my rookie quarterback, that's like one of the top ones up there. That sounds weird, but like most rookie quarterbacks have that problem. So if that's your number one red flag, then that's like, okay. That means you're doing good at a lot of other things. So I'm okay with that. My only problem with him is like right now he's at 19 because right now he does turn the ball over way too much. Right now, obviously, again, we're seeing him. It's really hard to judge because we're seeing him with the third string offensive line and third string receivers. So there's only so much that he can do. But you can only judge him by the position that he's been put in. I can't judge him based on him playing on the Chiefs because he hasn't played on the Chiefs, So it's very difficult. And obviously, like, sometimes you do like, oh, well, if he had these weapons, he would be so much better. And yes, I think that's easier to say, though, when he's already proven how good he is. And Drake Maye hasn't necessarily done that. And he's shown so many signs, like I said. But he hasn't proven that he's higher than this for me right now, even though I think he will easily be higher than this when it comes to our prediction list. Like, I'm probably predicting to be top 10 next season. Like, I really do think he's a great quarterback, and he will be a great quarterback. Just right now, I can't justify putting him much higher because of how ready he is right now. He's also only 22. Like, that's insane. So,
I think that's somewhat fair. I mean, but like when I was doing this, I know you said you can't pretend like he's on the Chiefs, but like I'm pretending like he's on my team, and like would I want him to start a game for me? And I just feel a lot more confident with him starting than like who are your next couple above him? Like Penix. Penix has shown me 3 games, and like they were less impressive to me than what I saw from Drake Maye.
Wow, that's crazy.
That is not crazy.
Yeah, it is. But we'll talk about Penix in a sec.
Well, you're talking about like. For Bryce, you're like, oh, he shredded the Panthers defense. Anybody can do that. Okay. Michael Penix shredded the Panthers defense.
Yeah, which performed better than the Falcons at a
Panthers
lot of points, besides the run defense. The run defense
Panthers were statistically the worst defense in the NFL.
Yeah, because of the run defense. They were like, 400 yards or 200 more yards more allowed than anyone else.
It has to be higher than that.
Yeah.
They were top 10 all time in
But
rushing yards allowed.
But we're talking about quarterbacks right now, aren't we?
Yeah, but like he has Bijan, he has all these players to prop him up.
Yeah.
His situation is elite, and like I see some of the plays I see from Drake Maye.
Elite.
Darnell Mooney is one of the better number 2s in the
You
league.
hated him before the season.
I did, and he proved me wrong. Drake London's a solid number 1, and then Bijan's one of the best running backs in the NFL, easily top 10. His offensive line is top 10 easily. I don't know about they lost
but
a
like
couple players this
when you
year,
say
but-
elite, I think like top 3 situation.
Okay, he does not have a top 3 situation, but his situation's top 8.
Yeah, and so he's a really good one. I wouldn't say elite though.
And Drake Maye's last year was 32nd.
Yes. Again, that's why it's so hard to judge. And you agree that that's fair because it is. But Penix has shown me he's more ready right this second.
I just don't think that's
Because
true.
I don't know. I apparently I watched every single snap of Penix because I wanted to watch his games because I'm a big Penix believer. Just like you've probably watched a ton of snaps of Drake Maye, more than I have. And so because you want to believe in him. But the thing with Penix is like when you watch him, like again, we've talked about the turnovers. They weren't his fault.
Like one of them.
2 of them out of the 3 that he had were not his fault in those 3 games. Penix has already somehow in 2 of the 3 games that he's played in, 2 of the 3 games, the last 2 games, his first 3 NFL starts, 2 of them, he led his team down the field and scored a touchdown that would have won his team the game if his defense was even somewhat okay.
But he didn't. Are we counting almost comebacks
Yeah,
now?
yeah, you do.
Yeah,
because when
but
Xavier
that's
Legette
actually
drops a ball,
real almost comeback because there was 20 seconds left.
but McKay, you're gonna blame it on him for
The
not playing
Panthers,
defense.
with Bryce Young, drove down the field.
Penix drove down the field against a lot of people's favorite quarterback in the league, in Jaden Daniels, and beat him. It's not his fault that his team is so bad that they let them come back in
Jaden Daniels
45
ice in his
seconds.
veins.
So does Penix, is my point. In 3 games, he showcased that. I've never seen a rookie come out and be that good that fast. Because he was on the level of a lot of these quarterbacks we've already talked about and better than them immediately. And yes, he's in a good situation, but we have to look at the fact that he played 3 games. And obviously this is a prediction list.
I'm not putting him this high after 3 games.
I am because he was a rookie. And so
that's what I would do in projections.
No,
right now it's
in most situations I understand that because it's like for example, if I'm trying to think of somebody. If Fields comes out on the Jets and plays 3 good games to start the year, I'm not moving him up that much right away because he has more to prove because he's shown us what he has done wrong, if that makes sense. Penix didn't just show signs. Maye for me is all signs. Oh, this looks really good, or this he played this was a really good throw, or this he showed how smart he is. Whatever it is, there's signs. Penix, it's this is a quarterback. This is a complete quarterback.
That's crazy. After 3 games?
He's got the accuracy, the mobility, the smarts, the processing, everything that you need. And obviously, you want to improve all those things to become an elite quarterback. And I'm not saying he's an elite quarterback, but there's not with Maye, turnovers. With Daniels, he runs too much. There's always something that is their biggest weakness, and Penix doesn't have big weaknesses.
Well, he better not. He's 26.
Well, he's 25, and just like Nix and almost Daniels, but. That's the dumbest argument I've ever heard.
Throwing Daniels into that conversation.
Because people just forget about him for some reason.
It's because he's 3/4 of a year younger.
Oh. And so, but my point is that as a rookie to come out and have no big weakness that people can target is insanely rare and a great sign. And also just he was able to, he dropped, obviously you say it's against the Panthers defense. He also dropped 40 points in that game. It's not his fault. His defense can't stop Bryce Young. It's not his fault that he dropped 30.
But you just ignore that game for Bryce.
Well, I said Bryce, that was his one good game. But people don't care about it because if you don't care about Nix's, you can't care about it. But I'm just saying that was his one good game. Then he dropped 30 on the Commanders, who obviously don't have an amazing defense, but they dropped 30 on the Commanders. It's not his fault that his defense can't stop a stone. It's not his fault. And the other game against the Giants, they dropped 38 and they won because they played the Giants. So it's all these games he's putting up. I think he averaged almost 35 points a game on the 3 games he played. That's really freaking good. So yes, I have him here because I think I see a lot of potential and a lot. Obviously, this is a projection, but I see a lot of readiness right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You haven't mentioned Kyler. I assume he's one of the next 2.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, he's just kind of mid, but in a good way. He can have games. His best game of the year is going to be a top 3 game of the year, in my opinion, out of any quarterback. Every year, totally it's crazy. Mm-hmm. So obviously, I take him over a lot of the quarterbacks above him if I'm trying to compete, just because I know he can play at that level.
In one game especially, because you just want him to win you one game.
Yeah, he just hasn't been consistent enough at all.
If he
His
had work
second half
ethic at all.
of the season is just terrible. Like for the Cardinals and him, he's just falling off every year. So
For his sake, I really hope he takes a step this year. Because I think the Cardinals are going to be freaking good if he does. So, but
he's also like, what is he, 29? Like people
No,
act like people think
he is not
He
29.
came out in 2019 at 22 years old. How old would that be?
it's like 28.
Yeah, so he's a lot older than
That
people
is,
think.
29
Because
sounds so much older than 29. Or 29 sounds so much older than 28 for some
not
reason.
though. But like people,
Obviously.
it just feels like people are, you just said he'll take a step, but like I just don't hear that for other quarterbacks his age.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, that is a really good point. I didn't even realize he was that old for some reason. Yeah, we'll see if he takes a step. Obviously, it's in the projections. That's why we both have him around the same spot. I have him, just one of the next two spots. So it's not like I have him crazy much higher or anything. But going to Brock Purdy for a second, because I have him at 17. Did you already say him? I
19.
forgot. 19? That's totally fair. I think he's just so unbelievably mid. Like, so unbelievably mid. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about him. He's just Like, he's the most quarterback there is. I know I said Darnold was the epitome of average before, but I think Purdy's like the epitome of average.
Now he's getting paid, like, what is it, 56? Is he joining that, or is he getting maybe a little
I think
bit
it's
less?
like 54 or something. Maybe 52.
I've heard so many people saying it's a steal just because he wasn't the highest paid quarterback. I'm like,
When we sign Nix,
know.
I really hope we don't pay him the highest paid in the league.
he will definitely be one of the highest. He'll probably
Oh,
get
yeah, but I'm hoping it's
top
not.
3.
I'm hoping it's not above. Like, I don't know how high it's going to be, so I
It'll
can't
probably be
put a
like
number.
65.
Yeah, I know. That's insane, though. And then, obviously, we talked about Drake May a little bit. We differ on opinions there, but
I mean, why are we talking about him now?
because I know you're about to talk about him. So I guess we should just go to our next 5.
Maybe I won't be talking about him.
If he's higher than that, that's insane. But is there anybody else in this group that we haven't talked about from your list?
Not really. I think we haven't talked about Russ, but I think hopefully we're about to talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
him.
I already said him. He's 16.
Oh, okay.
So you had him at 20?
Yeah, that's not even that much different.
Yeah, it's not that much different. I just think Russ gets the nod over Maye, Penix, Purdy, Tua, all those guys because, like, if again, we're talking about one game here right now, I'm trusting him over all those guys easily. Like, easily. Like, so the thing is like, when we did our quarterbacks midseason, like, we didn't have a podcast, obviously, but we did it, like, for fun. We were sitting on my couch and we were, like, going through ranking the quarterbacks, if you remember this. Russ was a top 10 quarterback for you.
He was like 10th.
He was like 8th, actually. I remember because I was really excited. And I was like, okay, so you
You were
agree
going
he's top
crazy.
10. I'm not sure how he drops all the way down to 20,
That playoffs was not good.
but
And then,
it was
like,
not his fault.
He fell off like the last 2 games before the playoffs. It was not good.
That's interesting take because I remember in the playoffs against the Ravens, the whole team played pretty bad, but Russ, like, had a few really good plays in there, actually, and, like, kind of kept him in the game.
He's going to have some good plays.
Yeah, but he kept him in the game. Like, their whole team played awful. And he threw, like, a couple deep balls to Pickens down the sideline. Like, he still has one of the nicest deep balls in the league. I mean, he just hits it so much, and he drops it in all the time. And so, yeah, if I'm trusting one game, like, I'm taking him above these other guys. And I can't believe we've got Maye right now higher than him. I think that's insane.
I don't think so.
Because he's just – Maye is not ready.
I think he's ready. I think he's ready. His team – no one
Not
has
projecting
said,
next year, right now.
No one is saying how bad his team was. Like, I know people are like,
Yes,
it's
we
bad,
are.
but like they're not saying – they don't know how magnitude-wise it's bad.
His defense wasn't even that bad.
His defense doesn't help him play good.
I mean, it does. It keeps
Helps
you in
him
the
win
game.
games.
Yeah, and he couldn't do that.
Yeah, because his offense –
Yeah, I'm not
He
expecting
had
him to.
he had like a bottom 5 line, and then the first 2 strings of linemen all got hurt. Basically,
I know.
he was playing with rookie undrafted tackles. Like
No,
that
I
is
know.
never gonna work.
I obviously agree that his team was absolutely, like, historically bad on offense. But you can't just be like, oh, since his team sucked, that just means he's amazing. Like, that's not how it works.
Because I saw stuff from that I'm
Yeah.
like, I feel like I'm more confident in what he can do to help my team, which is basically let's just pretend my team's mid. I think he could help my team more than some of these other guys all the other guys we've been talking about.
But again, this is what I'm trying to tell you. So you keep saying I see things, and it's like, yes, you do see things.
I see things that like
You do see things, but that's not a complete quarterback if you just have to see things. And obviously, again, the team makes you only able to see things a lot of the time. But he's not that consistent, even if a lot of that is because of a team. And so he's not that ready right now to put him top half of the league right this second.
I don't know. I don't think it's that crazy.
But I mean, it's not like that crazy, but I think it's too high. But let's move on to the next group. I think hopefully he's 15.
I think this is going to be your most You're going to be very mad at this part more than any other
Oh,
part.
no. It's Nick.
15 is CJ Stroud. Dude, that is not crazy.
Keep
Tomorrow?
going. Just keep going. Keep going.
Okay. 14 is Bo Nix. 13, Drake Maye. 12. Okay, do you think you should be higher? Like, you shouldn't be freaking
You have
out
Drake
now.
May above Knicks right now.
Yeah. I don't think that's that crazy of a take.
What changed your mind? Okay, we'll talk about it in a second.
What do you mean what changed my
Keep
mind?
going.
I've always had
12
them
and
right next
11.
to each other. 12, Jalen Hurts. 11, Baker Mayfield.
So Daniels is a lot higher than Knicks.
That's not even that much. I think that the gap between 15, which is CJ Stroud, and number 4 is not big.
Whoa.
It is
That's not. I actually don't hate that take at all.
because number 15 Stroud, I think he is miles above Darnold at 18.
Yeah,
Just 3 spots away,
Yeah.
and he's way closer to being the fourth
there's a
best
huge
quarterback.
drop off. There's a huge
Yeah,
drop off.
so I don't think this is as crazy as
But
it's gonna look a lot crazier than it is.
The reason I think it's crazy is because during the season you agreed that Knicks and Daniels were like 1A and 1B, like they were right next to each other. You were
I had
flipping
all
them.
3 right next to
You
each
were
other.
flipping them, but you agreed May was behind them too.
Yeah, and then at the end of the year, I got
Where
to
Knicks
a point,
got better.
Yeah, Bane got way better at the end of the year, and then I got to a
So
point.
Knicks was better and
There
got
was-
better
during the
and
season.
you lowered him.
During the season, at the end of the season, I was saying I want Jaden Daniels is in a tier, and the next tier is Bo Nix and Drake May right above Bo Nix. And when we were doing our quarterback rankings, I had him 1 spot above Nix basically every time.
Except you had Knicks above Daniels in our quarterback rankings
I don't remember
because
that.
you kept flipping
Maybe that was
them.
mid-season.
You kept flipping them because you were like Knicks and Daniels are very similar, which I think is a fair take.
I think Jaden Daniels just has more ability to win me a game, which is kind of like what I'm thinking.
Which
about.
is like whatever take you want to take, whatever. I think they're very similar players, like level wise. But then you had May behind them. It was them flipping, and May is third. You had them very similar, all very close.
I think
but May
they're-
was third. I don't understand how you just jumped them. Jumped Knicks.
I didn't jump Knicks. They were always right next to each other.
Yeah, but you had Knicks behind them, guaranteed the entire time. Then Knicks kept getting better,
So-
and all of a sudden it just flipped when the season ended. That makes
did
no
not.
sense. It's because
At the end of
you're
the
letting
season-
your bias of predicting him to be good.
Maybe that's the case. I don't know, but I don't know. Like, why we haven't even heard your list.
Yeah. So let's go.
So you
15. I
all
got
sorted
Dak,
Oof.
which you haven't said Dak. So that means he's top 10.
15 is crazy.
The reason I have him at 15, I was gonna put him higher, but he's coming back from a surgery, and like
That's fair.
he didn't look amazing in the beginning of the year. It's like, what is he gonna look like when he comes back? He's the most uncertain on this list because he's coming back from that,
I don't know.
and we're all trying to bet on what they're doing right now, and I can't tell you what Dak is right now. So that's why I have him at 15. 14 is Kyler. 13 is Jordan Love.
What?
12 is
At
CJ Stroud,
13?
and 11 is Jaden Daniels.
Oh no. Your top 10 is gonna be so weird.
I think my 10 is amazing. So the thing about 11 and 10, I'll just tell you right now, 10 is Bo Nix. 10 and 11, you can flip either way. I'm fine. The only reason
Good Bo Nix above Jaden Daniels.
you can put him you can flip him if you
Bro,
really want
people
to.
are not gonna like that.
I know they're gonna hate it, but the main reason I put Bo above Jaden is because we're going back to the weapons thing. You want to talk about worst team on offense? Bo Nix's team is exponentially worse.
Bo Nix had the
Exponentially.
best pass block win rate
Yeah.
in the NFL,
Okay,
and he also had a #1 jump ball receiver, yardage wise.
shut up.
Jaden Daniels had the same thing.
No, what?
Number
No,
2
whoa.
receiver wise had an underrated receiver who's about 6 foot or 5'11". Same thing.
What is this? Let's go to
tight
tight
end
end.
wise, old white guys who aren't very fast. And
That's what you're gonna say?
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say.
Ertz outgained our entire tight end room combined.
Obviously.
They each had 200 yards. Our leading tight end had 200 receiving yards, and
Yeah.
Knicks had like a lot more yards than Daniels in the air.
Are they not white and slow?
Okay, that's just like what? That doesn't make sense. My
Okay.
point is
Mid running back who comes back from an injury.
mid. He's bottom 3 in the league. Javante is bottom 3 in the league.
I think Brian Robinson is
Much better.
bottom 10.
Okay, that's still much better.
I don't know, man.
Fine, we'll give you Jaleel McLaughlin. You want him?
No.
Yeah.
He's just not the same type of player.
No.
Like, I don't know how to, I don't know. I can't group him with him.
No, my point is that Bo Nix had less to work with.
Bo Nix also has offensive mastermind Sean Payton.
Shut up. You're so annoying. So I just think that while people are going to hate it, I put him above because I think they're so close. And yeah, I mean, either way, I'm fine with it. That's why I'm fine with you putting Nix behind him, but I just think it's weird to put him so much higher. But like I just don't get the Maye thing at all right now. But we've gone over that too many times already. C.J. Stroud, I don't understand.
Where'd you have him?
I have him 12.
It's actually not that bad.
I don't know
actually.
what
I said Stroud is the bottom of this tier of like guys that could be.
Yeah,
fourth.
but Stroud right now, if like you want to keep talking about putting him on better teams, if we put him in a real offensive line, we've seen what he can do.
Yeah, but right now he's clearly he needs receivers because they've invested so much into receiver. The only reason why their line isn't good is because they're investing that into receiver.
Yeah, and that's not his fault.
Yeah, but he definitely has some
In his first season, he had Tank Dell, who you hate, and Nico Collins, who that was his breakout year. Big part because of C.J. Stroud. And so that makes no sense because it wasn't like he had an elite receiving core.
That is a really good receiving core. Nico Collins is the most underrated receiver maybe in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree. I love Nico Collins, but you're acting like you hate Tank Dell.
Tank Dell is a below average. Before he got hurt, he was a below average number 2.
Okay, so he has a below average number 2 and a really good number 1.
I'd rather have that over.
That's not a great receiving core.
That's not a phenomenal.
That's a good receiving core at best.
Offensive line was solid until last season.
Yeah, and it was horrible this season. My point is with just a solid offensive line and a good receiving core, he looked like a great quarterback in his rookie season. Then he takes a step back where he does look worse, but that's mostly because of the offensive line. A stat I always bring up, I'll bring it up when we talk about Mahomes, but how Mahomes in the Super Bowl, everyone likes to talk about how much he got pressured. On an average day, C.J. Stroud was facing more pressure, according to statistics. On an average day. That's insane that he still played above average at that. With that. Imagine giving him the Packers offensive line. You like talking about players playing on the Packers. If he plays on the Packers and behind that offensive line, that's great. He would be a top 10 quarterback.
I don't know.
Easily.
Just because
Easily.
he's relied on his top receivers like his whole career.
He made his top receiver break out. He
So
helped him break out.
you think if he just went on the Packers and it'd be like, oh, Romeo
You
Doubs
love Matthew Golden. You think
Yeah.
he's like a number 1 easily. So he has it. He's fine.
Okay.
My point is that if you give him a line, he was a top 10 quarterback. That's what we saw. When he has a decent line, he's a top 10 quarterback. Imagine him behind a great offensive line.
But also,
He's definitely better than
too
Love.
many sacks even for the pressure rate, in my opinion. Like we talked about Caleb, he wasn't as bad. Obviously, his pressure
Nowhere
rate was
near.
way higher, and his sacks were a decent amount lower.
Somehow.
But well, not somehow.
That makes no sense.
Dude, I would take less sacks than Caleb did if I had the Texans' offensive line.
That
Just because I wouldn't
It
want
just
to get
makes
hit.
no
I'd be
sense.
scared.
Yeah, I'd be scared.
And I'd get benched. But anyway.
I'd be scared.
Dude, that would hurt.
That
Anyway.
would hurt. Imagine Jalen Carter coming at you, bro. I would run so fast. Throwing that ball away so quick.
Yeah, I don't know.
To the defender. I'll be like, you can have it, Carter.
Yeah. But yeah, obviously I've said a lot. Like Stroud is very close to the players I've way above him.
Yeah.
There's just like a giant gap in my opinion out of the top 3.
I just think that because he took a step back, not necessarily because of his own play, but because of the situation around him, you're lowering him too much. Like I still lowered him. I put him at 12. But I
don't think 12 and 15. Like I was saying, whoa, that's really high. But then I was just like, yeah, that's not even that bad.
But like I think he's better than Dak right now because of the uncertainty. I think he's better than Kyler. Obviously, you agree. I think he's better than Love right now. I think if you swap their positions, like Stroud looks better than Love does, and Love looks worse than Stroud does.
If you put healthy Love in that offensive line, I think that Love would look marginally better.
Okay, if you put C.J. Stroud behind the Packers' offensive line, I think he looks not more than marginally better.
You think so?
Yes.
Even where we don't have Matthew Golden is not going to be a number 1 the first 5 weeks of the season.
Okay, even without the number 1, I still think so.
I don't know. I just haven't seen it with Stroud.
Obviously, and like that's debatable. Love, I have lower. I will probably talk about him more when you have him like way too high.
He's not that high. Like I'm lower. I think I'm lower than consensus on him.
You're not.
I think I am.
You're not. A lot of people will.
What's consensus rating for him?
I don't know. I actually think a lot of people. Maybe the comments got me. Maybe they don't. I think some people will actually agree with me at 13.
I know. A lot of people are like 13, 14, but there's a lot of people that are like 6.
Well, it's either 6 or 7 or it's 13, 14. Like there's no in between ever.
I don't really get that personally.
Yeah, it makes no sense, but whatever. I mean, and then Jaden Daniels, obviously you have him higher than me. I do understand you feel confident he's going to win you a game. Obviously we'll talk about this more when I predict him, but like obviously I've talked about how I think he's going to take a step back. Big part of that, like to you personally, but the biggest part of that is because like you agreed with this. He runs too much and he's like when he decides to run, there's too many times where I'm seeing him decide to run when he could be looking downfield still. And sometimes he still does a great job. Like obviously if you're outside the pocket, every once in a while you're going to see someone downfield wide open and throw it to him. And he's a great quarterback, don't get me wrong. But I actually really do strongly believe if you go watch games with him, like it really does feel like the offense is is almost limited. Like, they don't call a ton of different plays or styles of plays or formations, and maybe that's just the offensive play caller sucked, but it almost feels like we're sheltering him because he's a rookie, which makes sense. I think a lot of people shelter the rookies, but another reason I put Nix above him is like Nix was better when we opened up the playbook, while I felt as Daniels was better if the playbook was closed down. And that's not a sign of a quarterback that's like great for me. It's just a sign of a quarterback that can work if everything else is going right. Because he is a good enough quarterback to win you football games, obviously. I think both of them are easily. But I think that Nix has a better chance if things are going wrong to still look good, and Daniels doesn't.
Well, I just think Daniels can go in and win me a game, and he's also not going to lose me a game. He's very good at mitigating turnovers.
Yeah, that makes sense.
One of the reasons people are going to be really mad, obviously, where you have him, but they're probably going to be still mad about where I have him, just because the one thing he does that makes me so mad is running out of bounds for a -3 yards. It's like you literally could just throw it away when you're right next to the out of bounds. Like, I don't get it. And he obviously is losing his team yards, but his completion percentage is staying up, so people still think he's like the most accurate rookie we've ever seen.
But he's not.
Obviously not.
It's crazy to me because like that is the most obvious case of like stat padding I've ever seen in my entire life.
Like, his yards per carry is like 4.5.
Like, well, there's just no way that he doesn't know he's doing it. Like, he's purposely running out of bounds a couple yards short of the line every single time. Throw the ball away. Who cares about your completion percentage? Another thing, Bo Nix is a team player. Maybe Daniels isn't. Like, you're laughing, and that is partly a joke, but like, I don't want a stat padder as my quarterback. And like, you can't get much more stat padding than that as a quarterback.
I don't know, him and Russ.
What did Russ do?
Russ did the
Take
same
sacks.
thing.
Russ is just like dumb. like Russ is just dumb. Like, he just takes sacks because he doesn't see them, not because he doesn't want to throw the ball away. He's fine to throw the ball away. He just can't get it off most of the time because he thinks he can get it off so much later than he actually can, and that's why he takes so many sacks. And then when he sees like 350-pound man on him, he's like, "Oh wait, I can't get it off," and just goes down. But that is, ultimately the reason I kept him outside my top 10.
Okay, so you said Love already, but we haven't really talked about Jalen Hurts, who I assume is higher for you.
Oh yeah, where'd you have him? 10?
12.
12?
That's not insane.
That is pretty crazy.
He just he's never had 3,500 passing yards? Is that what
Something
the number
like
is? Like, that's crazy. That is not hard to do if you're playing 17 games. Like, that is.
Which he
People
didn't.
sleepwalk to that.
He didn't play 17.
He played like 15.
Yeah, but he didn't play 17.
Yeah, 15's plenty.
I'll talk about him more. I'll let you talk about him. Give your whole case on him because I'm going to talk about him because he comes up in the next group.
I saw it, I've seen this so many times, like, how long his rushing touchdowns are. It's like 46, 12, 5, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And it's like 30. And it's like, those are fake stats. We can throw them away. It helps the team. But, like,
it's not like a quarterback.
It's not like it's not like Josh Allen's rushing touchdowns or Lamar Jackson's rushing touchdowns where they're making a play, putting the team on their back. He's just like getting pushed into the end zone. It's like what I always think about, like some kid, you just throw him over, like pick him up, throw him into the end zone. It's basically that. You're just using a body to grab the ball while everybody else pushes him in. It should not be evaluated as a quarterback stat. And obviously, he's clutch. Like, that's the reason why he's 12 and not lower. He's very good in the playoffs, very clutch. It's just like if his team was mid, I don't think he makes the playoffs. And obviously, if he does, I think he could win a game because he's proven, like in the Super Bowls, he's outdueled Mahomes by far. His best game of his career, in my opinion, aside from like some dumb lateral, was that Super Bowl a couple years ago. He played so good. I loved him after that game for some reason. I just didn't watch very much Eagles that year, I guess. And he also obviously has the best supporting cast in the league, in my opinion, with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, the best tackle duo in the NFL probably. I don't know, and obviously the best defense last season. Like, he's got the best team, so he should be playing like this. And I just think, like, obviously the 12th best quarterback in the league is good enough to win a Super Bowl. I think I guess I'll extend it to Kyler. The top 16 quarterbacks can win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't think that's a terrible take at all. But, like, obviously a big reason that Hurts won a Super Bowl is because of how, like, the Eagles are one of the most stacked rosters of all time. I'll talk about him a little bit more. Let me go through my next 5, and then I'll talk about him because he's going to be there. Unless there's someone else.
We haven't talked about Baker, but I think hopefully we're about to talk about him.
Yeah, he's in my next 5 as well. So we'll talk about both those guys in just a sec. 10, I already said it was Knicks. 9 is Patrick Mahomes, so we're going to have to talk about him.
Oh, boy.
Stay tuned for that. 8 is Jalen Hurts. 7 is Baker Mayfield. And then 6 is Jared Goff. So let me talk about...
Wait. Oh, okay, never mind. I was
you go, and then let me talk about Hurts since we were just on him.
10, I got Dak Prescott.
Whoa.
I don't think it's that hot. Well, it is a hot take, but I don't think it should be as hot as it is. 9 is Jordan Love. 8 is Jared Goff. 7, Jaden Daniels. And number 6, sadly, is Justin Herbert, who you probably have like 5 spots higher.
Whoa. Okay. So I'm trying to. Okay, interesting. Okay, so let's talk about Hurts first because we were just on him. The reason I have him at 8 here, higher than you, is because, like you said, how clutch he is. Mm-hmm. It's not just like where he clutches up at the end of games though. It's like every bigger game he's playing way better, like much better. And obviously people are gonna be really mad. Mahomes is 9 behind Hurts.
Oh my gosh, that's so bad.
Big reason for that is because Hurts has outperformed in both years. They've
true.
played in the Super Bowl against each other, and this time by a lot. Obviously, I'll talk about Mahomes in a second, but Hurts just really does rise to the occasion. And you say he doesn't have 100 passing yards and all those things. I think a big reason for that, though, is that he doesn't have to. If you watch a lot of the games, like they're not really letting him throw, but in the playoffs when he does get the chance to and stuff, like he really showcases that he can. Like he can be a great quarterback. It's just he's not in the top tier, obviously. Mm-hmm. He's a lower tier winning or Super Bowl winning quarterback. Like on most teams, he wouldn't even be considered a Super Bowl winning quarterback. But on this team, it's really let him rise to the occasion and become the quarterback that he is. I don't think he'd be anywhere near as good on another team because he wouldn't have gotten the development that he has and the confidence that he has. And I think that when he gets the opportunity, he shows that he's a great quarterback. It's just, why would they make him throw the ball when they have Saquon Barkley? They don't need to throw the ball. So, and like you talked about, his rushing and stuff. He does have good rushing ability outside of the tush push. It's just overrated because of the tush push. So he's a good to great quarterback, in my opinion. And he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I had to give him respect for winning the Super Bowl this year. He outdueled Mahomes twice. He's performed in every big game he's ever played in, basically. So it's like I want to give him his respect and put him at 8. I can't put him any higher because he's not as good as these other guys, obviously. That's the guys above him. But I don't think 8 is crazy because of his clutch gene, because of the fact that he's shown what he can do. He just hasn't necessarily been asked to ever do it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess not much argument's going to be for me just because I've already said 15 through 4.
It's so close.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think, obviously, it just depends. If your team is as good as the Eagles, you want a quarterback like Jalen Hurts because you're going to get there without him and he can help you when you're there. Mm-hmm. But with a lot of teams, you won't want him as your quarterback. Where'd you have Baker?
I had him at 7.
It's really high. It's just like he has so many turnovers. If he gets far in the playoffs, I think there's going to be a game in there that he will lose his team the game.
Interesting.
And I think that's just not the kind of quarterback I want on my team. He's 11. Obviously, I still think he's a Super Bowl caliber quarterback, but I think he's going to have to make a decent playoff run multiple times if he wants a chance at a Super Bowl, just because I don't know what the chances are he's going to be able to string clean games together while still being a good quarterback. He's had it might have been 18. I don't know. It can't have been 18 fumbles. Maybe it was 9 fumbles. I don't know.
But he only lost 2.
Yeah, but that does not matter. That is going to regress negatively.
It does matter because that means you're not turning the ball over.
Yeah.
So therefore, he didn't have that
lot
many
of picks.
Yeah, but that's because he threw so many touchdowns. So if you look back at old time stats like Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, they all had around 14 picks every season because they were throwing in the 40s of touchdowns. And that's going to come with the more touchdowns you throw, the more picks you're supposed to throw. Mm-hmm. Seeing these quarterbacks like Rodgers for so long, like Lamar this year, even Burrow, we're not supposed to be given these quarterbacks that are so good that they're throwing 40 touchdowns in 4 picks. One of which was Lamar's fault, by the way. Not talked about enough, which we'll talk about him later. But that's insane. That is unworldly. But when Baker's out here throwing 41 touchdowns with everyone on his receiving core getting hurt at points in the year, he just was I don't care who's hurt. I'm throwing to K. Dotton for 4 touchdowns this game. He literally would just go out there with whatever he got. He pumped up his team, and he'd win the game he needed to, and he would throw as many passing touchdowns as he needed to. And yeah, he turns the ball over a little too much, and that does bug me sometimes. But I'm not necessarily scared of him losing me a game in the playoffs because when he does turn the ball over, I've never watched a game of Baker Mayfield where it's him turning the ball over cost him the game. And obviously turnovers lead to you losing the game a lot of the time, but he turns the ball over and then makes up for it because he scores so much. So it's yes, he'd probably turn the ball over multiple times in a playoff run, just like every quarterback does. But he's one of those guys I'm confident can bounce back from it. And I don't think they're going to win a Super Bowl with the Bucs. I don't think the team's good enough. And we've talked about this. The top 3 are different. I think our top 3 are actually a little bit different, but
Wait, what?
the top 3 are ahead of everybody else, but they can go win you a game by themselves, and they're almost never going to lose you a game, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think every other quarterback behind them, all the way to 16, like you said, was Super Bowl caliber. I mean, the last few really have to have a perfect situation to win a Super Bowl. But most of them can lose you a game, and that's like their biggest problem, and that's why they're not up there. And Baker can lose you a game, but he's one of the few guys on here that I'm confident that like over 70% of the time, he's going to be in contention for winning you the game. And I think a lot of the other guys are just there to help and not like they're not going to lead your team, if that makes sense.
That's interesting. I've never really thought about that, but thinking back, I don't remember any game-losing picks.
Mm-hmm.
He throws a lot of his picks really early in the game.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking
And then he adjusts, and he plays great.
Yeah, but like again, 11 is not a bad ranking.
No, and
it's
again,
not like
it's
a bad
close enough.
quarterback.
I'm just saying that's why I have him at 7.
Mm-hmm.
But we should probably talk about Mahomes at some point.
I don't know. I think we should save that.
You
Keep
think so?
people interested.
Okay. We'll wait till you say him.
I'm gonna talk about Prescott a little bit.
Yeah.
You had him 13?
I had him 15
15.
because of the uncertainty.
It's almost like he's widely considered the most overrated quarterback in the NFL. But
I think that's dumb.
I've never heard anybody overrate him.
Yeah.
Like recently, especially. Analysts all are like, yeah, he's fine. And then fans are like, yeah, he sucks. He's on the Cowboys. I hate them.
Yeah.
But no one ever says how good he is.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I watch Dak Prescott, I'm like, he looks like a top 8 quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He makes the plays to bring his team down the field. He's mobile, push the ball downfield, obviously. And no matter who his receivers have been, whether it's been Brandon Cooks, Amari Cooper, he's always having a revolving door around at receiver, basically, 3 receivers in his time being good. He's had no run game these last few seasons, and he's still been able to get good stats, bring his team to the playoffs. That Packers playoff game, it's lingering in my head still. Obviously, it's a good thing for me, thinking about that a lot, but that was really bad. And that's one reason why he's not higher. Like, as I said, when I watch him, he feels like a top 8 quarterback. But he just does everything so well. And he also is one of the quarterbacks that can keep the ball safe. Like, he always has, like, 12 or less picks in a season.
Yeah.
So, I don't get the hate besides that he's on the Cowboys.
And I don't hate him at all. Like you said, these guys are close in a lot of these range. Like you having him at 10 and me having him at 15, I'm completely okay with him being at 10. Because I think it's a completely valid argument. And if he comes back from his injury well, I think there's an argument to say he's higher than 10.
Yeah.
But the most recent football that we saw was right before he got hurt, and he didn't look great. Looked kind of bad. But it was, again, a tiny sample size at the beginning of the season, which the beginning of the season is the least important part of the season, in my personal opinion. And then, he goes and gets surgery. So it's like uncertainty. So I ended up putting him at the bottom of this group that we keep talking about. Purely because of that. But like you said, like don't understand the hate. I don't hate him at all. I think he's a great quarterback. I think there's a lot of good to great quarterbacks in the league right now. There's just only a few elite quarterbacks right now, if that makes sense, which I think you agree on. But I think that, I don't know. I just think, yeah, he's definitely overhated and stuff, and he's a good quarterback for sure. And I really hope he can come back. I think I predicted the Cowboys to make the playoffs because I really do think that he is easily a good enough quarterback to make the playoffs, especially with that roster. So I wouldn't, if he comes back and it looks anything like himself, I really do think they have a really good shot at the playoffs.
And with you saying you think the first half of the season is a lot less important than the second half of the season.
Oh, no.
I just think that's like you're a little bit harsh on Love. If I wasn't your friend, maybe Love would be a bit higher. But obviously, you said Prescott being at 10 versus 15 isn't that big of a deal. Maybe you don't think 9 versus 13 is that big of a deal for Love. I think you got him at 13.
I just don't think he should get top 10 nod. He's one of those guys that I'm guaranteed.
You had him
is
above
the group.
Prescott.
Mm-hmm.
And you said Prescott was fine at 10.
But the reason I said Prescott's fine at 10 is because, again, I don't know where he's going to be. He could be
Jordan Love could be
He
that.
could be 15, he could be 10. But I see Love as a bottom half of this group no matter what.
I don't know. Love's just such a he's got the clutch gene in some ways. He just hasn't shown it
In some ways.
He did not show against the Niners, didn't show against the Eagles in the playoffs. He obviously showed it against he didn't really have to show against the Cowboys, but I know his first season starting, I'm trying to remember what games they were. Saints game, like his third career start. He came back after looking not great, and he drove down the field.
I'm really
scored a
impressed he
touchdown.
beat the Saints. That's really cool.
They were good then. Like that was a good
That's
season
really
for them.
cool.
Okay, well anyway, he had multiple that season. This season, obviously banged up the whole year, which obviously has affected his
Oh
play.
my God.
He was terrible against the blitz because he couldn't move. Shocker. but we've seen so much good play. Even the second half of this season is not talked about very much. It was a top 6 quarterback in that time, which is not that is not crazy.
You're joking. You mean the part of the season where you guys were running the ball out the stadium, like running the ball almost every play?
We weren't. We're running it a lot.
You're running a lot, and that
especially early.
And that was the only reason he looked good. Is because he was able to play off the play action and get wide open looks. He wasn't doing anything special at this.
He was making a lot of good throws.
He's making a lot of throws he should make.
Okay, well, you're just a hater, clearly.
No, I think he's a good quarterback, but he's nothing special. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I'm talking similar ways as I talked about Dak Prescott. I said Dak Prescott, when I watch him, feels like a top 8 quarterback.
Yeah, I
don't.
And
I said Jordan Love at this specific sample size, at the end of the season, looks like a top 6 quarterback, which we've already said is not that big of a difference.
You put him higher than Dak.
You did too.
What I'm saying is your argument is when I watch Dak, I feel like he's a top 8 quarterback, and when you were like, when I watch Love for certain parts of the season, he feels like a top 8 quarterback. Therefore, he's higher.
6.
Yeah, but you can't just
the
put him
high
higher
level
because he looks
and
better
play.
at some parts.
Jordan Love was a top 5 quarterback at the end of his first career season.
That's just not true.
No, like just that specific sample size.
You're being biased about that. That's just not true.
We've seen high-end play from Jordan Love, and we haven't seen garbage play from him, which we've seen from a lot of quarterbacks like this.
We've seen some bad play from him in some games. like some really bad play.
Okay, well, the Eagles game, to be fair, we had like probably the worst guard of all time. Like the worst guard play at that. What I know that's not where we lost.
Yeah.
But that was probably he had 5 holdings, like something like that on one player.
How is that crazy? How is that possible for a guard?
I don't even know. Like honestly. That was just embarrassing. Anyway, let's just move on.
Well, I want to talk about Nix for a little bit because I haven't got to talk much about him. But the reason I have him 10 and higher than Love, because I think he is better than Love right now. Like you said, the clutch gene, Nix was able to show that in his rookie year multiple times. And like you really like the clutch gene. You brought that up multiple times. But I feel like you just don't talk about how Nix has it.
That's because I knew you were going to talk about it. So why would I have to mention it?
No, you just don't want to mention it. And like Nix has put his team in positions to win all the time. I think it's no surprise that he doesn't have an array of weapons to work with necessarily.
Cortland Sutton had 1,100 yards.
Yeah, because of him. But he had over 1,000 yards since 2019 before that. So
he was always at like 900, like every year.
No,
Besides
I think he was like 800.
There was one year,
which is
I
a
think,
pretty
where
big
Noah
difference.
Fant was top guy.
Yeah, but we're gonna move on from that, and just like my point is like his run game is non-existent. And like,
fair.
Really is such a big part of the game, especially for Love. Like that is a huge reason he's successful because his best game is off that play action when he gets looked deep.
Yeah, but also, it's not like he's carried by Josh Jacobs. A lot of it's the system that creates the run game.
Yes.
Like I think that you're gonna be surprised that Harvey's gonna average 4.1 yards per carry, and you're gonna be like, wow, that's not very good because it's not. But it's fine for rookie.
No.
But you're gonna be saying, wow, I thought he'd make a bigger impact.
I think
because of how bad your scheme
I
is.
think Harvey's going to be better than 4.1, but I do agree that a big part of it is the scheme, and that's why I always say that Sean is a bit overrated as a play caller, or a lot overrated as a play caller. I think Sean has a lot of great things about him, but as a play caller, there's been multiple times, I think most Broncos fans can agree with me because I've seen it from Broncos fans, there's been multiple times where it's like, man, like if Sean just called this game a little bit better, I really think we would have won. Or like this could have changed the complete game, or we would have at least been in it. There's a lot of games or plays like that,
Mm-hmm.
And that shouldn't happen, especially when you have a rookie. You should be helping the rookie out, not calling plays that are going to make them less successful. But Bo Nix was able to kind of thrive through that, and even with no weapons as a rookie, and like obviously like it's not on the same level of no weapons as Drake Maye, because Drake Maye didn't have like an NFL caliber weapon, but I think that. Like, it's still something to be talked about that he had such bad weapons and still looked so good, so clutch, so ready. And obviously in the beginning of the year he didn't, but right now he does. And, like, I'm really excited to see where this team goes. And I think Harvey, I know this has nothing to do with Harvey, but I think Harvey's going to make a bigger impact than you think. I think he's going to be around 4.5 a carry this season.
That'd be really good.
Yeah, a great rookie season, but, like, obviously it's a big part of the scheme, but when you have number 1 run blocking in the league, you're going to be able to do something. And you have,
I don't know.
and you have Nix and with more weapons through the air, I'm excited to see what we can do because the playbook keeps getting more and more open. I hope it's not fully open yet because I really want to see more. So I hope it's going to get more open. And then I hope that we just are able to, they're going to able to like help each other because run game gets benefited by pass game gets benefited by run game. And last season it was just like, well, Nix is going to try to do something because our run game got -2 yards in the last 2 plays. So. And, like, if you're able to thrive through that in your first season, that's a really freaking good sign. And also just, like, if you're able to thrive through that at any point in your career, that means you're a really good quarterback. And so Nix is a really good quarterback.
Okay. moving on from the Glaze, where did you have Goff?
I had him at 6.
Wow. Okay, I had him at 8. I just don't think he's going to prop up your weapons the way some of these other quarterbacks will.
That's fair.
He's obviously always, when he's looked good, we've seen him with an elite supporting cast. And when he's looked bad, he did not have a supporting cast. He kind of just mirrors whatever you have.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the Lions' case, that's obviously a good thing. As we said, game manager isn't always a bad thing. You just have to get a good game for him to manage.
You have to be the right team.
Yeah.
And he's on the right team.
Yeah, but 8th, I mean, I'm not putting, like, he's going to have a better season than the 8th best quarterback, hopefully. But if I'm putting him on a mid-team, he's not going to be one of the, like, he shouldn't be higher than this.
Well, for me, it's like, this is, Goff is so weird to me because in most situations we talk about, we've talked about it so many times, like, what if you put him on a different team? What would he be doing? Mm-hmm. How good would he be if he had real weapons? With Goff, it's like, you don't do that because it's like you said, he just mirrors what you have, but like, that's okay because like, I don't know how to just explain it. Like, if he was on the Eagles, he'd be better than Hurts is, right? But it's like, if he was on the Patriots, he'd be much worse than Maye is. Mm-hmm. But it's like, with him, we can't ignore the team he's on because it has such a big impact on how he plays. Not, like, it has such a big impact on how good of a quarterback he is, unlike anybody else. Like, anybody else, they can showcase who they are through bad teams or not be as good on good teams. But Goff just, it's literally whatever team he's on, that's how good of a quarterback he is. And since he's on such a good team, he's a top 6 quarterback in my opinion.
Interesting. I mean, I try to move him away from the situation, which obviously you said is kind of impossible.
That's why it's so weird with him.
Have we talked about everybody? I mean, I think I'm saving the Herbert conversation for.
Yeah, I'm saving the Patrick Mahomes conversation. So let's get to our top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Do you want to go first?
Sure. At number 5, Matthew Stafford.
Okay.
Number 4, Patrick Mahomes. Number 3, Josh Allen. Number 2, Joe Burrow. And number 1, Lamar Jackson.
Okay, so you're going to be kind of shocked by mine.
I don't think so. I think Wait, can I predict it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Lamar, Burrow, Herbert, Stafford. Who am I missing?
Allen.
I
think you're wrong. Oh, no, I know you're wrong.
I think you're wrong.
Okay, so here's what it is. Number 5, I have Justin Herbert.
Oh, wow.
Number 4, I have Josh Allen. Number 3, I have Matthew Stafford.
What?
And number 2, I have Joe Burrow. Number 1, Lamar Jackson. So
that's kind of crazy.
Let's talk about Patrick Mahomes because I've been waiting. So for Patrick Mahomes, the thing for me is that this is going to make so many people mad, but I'm just going to come out and say it. When he's pressured, he is bad. If he is pressured, he is a bad quarterback. And I know a lot of people that don't watch a ton of football really disbelieve that. And that's because if you go turn on a highlight reel, half of his highlights are while he's outside the pocket. They are. Because he has one of the best arms this game has ever seen. And there's no denying that. He has an insanely talented arm. We've seen it on Showcase so many times. But I think while he was the best quarterback in the league, he was this incredible player up and coming because he's still so young. He has taken big steps back both of the last 2 seasons. Both. And this is a list right now. We are giving him too much credit, and I still think I gave him some credit for his name. And we should not.
That's crazy.
We should not be giving him credit just because of what he did 2 seasons ago. And I know he won the Super Bowl 1 season ago, but I think that in the last 2 playoff runs, he has not elevated his play in the playoffs, which is what he is like. That's what makes him great. But he hasn't been able to do that. People have figured out how to slow Mahomes down, and he has not figured out how to readjust to that. I am not going to put a player in my top 5 that when he's pressured less than CJ Stroud looks like a bottom 5 quarterback in the league. And there's no argument that he looked like that in that Super Bowl. He looked horrifically bad. Like, Bryce Young against the Eagles looked better than that.
Obviously. Bryce Young looked like one of the better quarterbacks against the Eagles, especially if you only want to watch the back end.
So you're telling me your 4th best quarterback in the biggest game of the year looks way worse than that in the biggest game of the year.
That might have been the most pathetic performance I've ever watched. I haven't watched football for like an insanely long time.
But
I think that was the most pathetic quarterback play I've ever watched.
And then if we go to other games, for example, the whole season, this season was a down year for Mahomes. There's no denying that. This is one of the worst seasons of his career.
This is the worst. This one is
2 years ago was pretty bad.
No, 2 years ago was better than this one.
Not 2 years ago, like not this season, but the season before was pretty bad. They were both really bad.
That one was better.
Okay, well then, if you want to say this is the worst year of his career, I think that it's insane to put him at 4 just because he was good before this.
No, because like it's almost like I said 4 through 15. You could change them, but
You're putting him up there because of his name.
basically,
And
I mean,
because you don't want to get people mad at you.
if Tom Brady was in this range of quarterbacks, and Mahomes deserves to be in the top 15.
Yeah,
If Tom Brady was here,
I agree.
I'd move Tom Brady up. Just because Tom Brady has shown that he can win Super Bowls and he has what it takes to win.
Yeah, but that is a completely different thing. Tom Brady is the GOAT.
Yeah, but like Mahomes has like what played 7 years? Like started 7?
Yeah.
I think he started 7 years and he has 5 Super Bowl or 4 Super Bowls, right?
5 appearances.
5 appearances.
3 wins.
You got to give him some respect for that, which is why he's at 4.
No. And he gets respect for that because I honestly think he played worse than the 9th best quarterback in the league this season.
Yeah.
So, but respect doesn't push you to 4.
It can't. It does in my case.
Because he hasn't been good since 2022. There is such thing as giving him respect after 2023. Okay, I still think it was too much. Then after 2024, what? It doesn't make any sense.
You are giving him respect. You put him at 9.
Yeah, and
that's very
so
similar
putting
to
him to 4th doesn't make any sense when, like, again, he is a bad quarterback when pressured. This season, the reason it was his worst season of his career is because his tackle play was bad. It wasn't good. And then in the playoffs, that was really, really showcased. In the Texans game, guess what he had? 150 yards, 170 yards. I think 120 of them went to Kelsey. He just targeted Kelsey the whole game. But next game against the Bills, I think it was like fine. And then he plays in the Super Bowl, and he just gets absolutely exposed because they just rush him. So, and then we go back to the Bucs game. I know a lot of people like to say he played incredible in that game. It was just his team's fault. He didn't play incredible. He made a couple really good throws. And the reason he didn't play incredible, because they rushed him. Whenever his tackles get beat, and you remember that offseason, that's when they spent like $100 million on offensive line. It's because Mahomes is the most line-dependent quarterback that I've ever watched. Because when he has an amazing line, he was elite. Like, I'm not trying to argue Mahomes was not ever a good quarterback. He was arguably the best quarterback in the league at so many points in his career. But those points are gone. And I think that people that put him in the top 3 especially is insane. I'm glad at least he's outside the top 3 for you. But I think that you can't put him top 5 right now because he did not play like a top 10 quarterback. So putting him at 9 is still giving him respect for being like, this is a guy that can go out and win you any game if he turns it on. But he hasn't shown us that in such a long time that I'm going to lower him. And that's why he's low for me.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
also,
I'm glad. Oh, yes, I made a good argument. McKay liked it.
I don't know. I'm very bad at arguing. Mahomes has not shown a lot in the past 2 years. I don't think you can argue that.
Well, some people think he has.
I mean, he's went to 2 Super Bowls in those years. So
yeah, but this team,
weird.
His team, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Reed,
it's the coach. Yeah, like their team is not as good as the Eagles.
I've never seen. This is gonna sound so weird, and I don't know if you're gonna understand what I'm saying. I think Reed is the most clutch coach of all time.
That's kind of weird.
That is kind of weird because you always think of the clutch person being the quarterback. I've never seen such clutch play calling though. Mahomes the last 2 seasons, the reason that they've made it to the Super Bowl when he hasn't looked good, because it doesn't make sense if you think about it. The biggest reason is because whenever a clutch moment comes, overtime, end of a game where they have to win the game, they always win. And you're like, how? It's because Reed has these plays saved or something, I swear. Because once they start a drive, every single play is like the ball's out of Mahomes' hand within less than 2 seconds, every single play, and they're constantly getting first downs and moving the ball. You can't stop them. Every single time. And so I really think if the Eagles game was close, they would have beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Because Reed is the clutchest coach of all time. And that sounds so weird, but I think he's the only clutch coach because he's figured out a way that it doesn't matter what quarterback's back there. As long as he's above average, they're going to win the game with those play calls. Like, he's that good of a coach. And that's why I think that they've looked so good, despite Mahomes taking major steps back.
Okay, well, we should probably move on from Mahomes.
Yeah, sorry, I have a little tangent. I'll let you go now.
You want Herbert or Stafford? Let's start with Herbert, actually.
Okay, you go ahead.
You only had him 1 spot above me, which is crazy for you. Maybe you guys know this. He's one of the biggest glazers of Justin Herbert on earth.
With 1 spot above you?
yeah, I know, which is why it's surprising. You've just always been like a huge Herbert guy. He's shown so much in the regular season. He's very Rodgers-esque in keeping the ball safe, pushing the ball downfield. Yeah, it's so similar. But he just hasn't shown anything in the playoffs. Like, I know you always point to that first game where they choked and you say, that was a good game. It really wasn't. Maybe you could say it wasn't a dumpster fire performance like that last one was. He just hasn't been able to elevate his team. He hasn't taken his play to the next level at all in the playoffs. He's been worse. So I just can't put him higher than 5 or 6. So
yeah, I have him at 5 because very similar reasons. Obviously, I don't have Mahomes up there because of like you put him up there because of his name. You basically just like completely agreed with that. You did.
Okay,
you do,
well, I
agree.
did.
It's
I
because
literally did. Yeah.
it's the past. So, and I'm not saying like obviously a lot of people agree with you on that. I'm just saying I don't agree with that, and that's why it makes me upset, and that's why I don't put him there. But that's why Herbert's 5 instead of 6, is because I don't have that extra player. But if this was my predictions list, Herbert would be higher. Because I think Herbert is finally going to take this step in the playoffs, I hope.
Everybody says that every year.
Yeah,
dude.
I know, but I mean,
gosh.
we look at a guy like Peyton Manning. I brought this up before. He went 0-4 in his first playoffs games, and he looked bad in all 4 of them. Why can't Herbert do the same? Obviously, he's not the same level.
Why can't Jordan Love do the same? Why can't this quarterback,
I know,
quarterback?
But the difference is that Herbert in the regular season always looks like a top 3 quarterback.
Top 3?
Yes, he does. He threw 2 picks last year.
I swear it was 3, but
I'm like 95% sure it was 2.
Okay, well, let's just say it was 3.
Okay.
And how many touchdowns did he throw? Like 20?
25 or something.
25.
Or 23. I think it was 23.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it is really good. Especially for a run-heavy team.
Yeah, they shouldn't. Hopefully they're not right.
And he didn't have any receivers outside of McConkey. Like, none.
McConkey's a really good player.
He's an amazing player. But that was it. You can't have one
Quentin Johnson
player.
last year
was so bad.
His points. I saw something where his fantasy points per game was 11 points per game. Zay Flowers was 13.
Well, that's actually crazy. But my point being that Herbert shows signs of being one of the top quarterbacks in the league all the time. And then in the playoffs, he does regress. Like you talked about the Jags game, whatever. I don't think it was a great game. I think it was a good game, not great. And I don't remember his other playoff games, to be honest. I'd have to be reminded. But I don't remember any of them.
He had one against the Texans.
Well, besides that one. But I know he's played at least one more. I feel like he's played at least one more. Maybe he hasn't, but I think he's played one more than that. I think he's only played in 3 though, and I just think that I don't remember that game being like horrific. No one ever talks about it, so I know it wasn't that bad. But this game was horrible. The Texans game was horrible. But to act like we haven't seen other players in their early years have a horrible playoff game and then be able to become a great player is insane to me. It was horrific. He lost him the game. Yes. But I think that he shown how good of a quarterback he is still. Even in the regular season, he's shown he can be clutch. I mean, let's go back to he played against the Raiders. I think it was 2 seasons ago. Last game of the season. This game is to decide who goes to the playoffs between the two.
The game is so funny.
Funniest game ever, because if you go watch it, craziest stat I've ever heard. People don't talk about this ever because they hate Justin Herbert. But Justin Herbert converted 10 4th downs in a row. 10.
Yeah, I remember that.
4th downs in a row. If that's not clutch, I don't know what is. And the last one was a 4th and 15. He got in the end zone to win the game. So
actually, they didn't win that game.
Sorry, to tie the game, and then for some reason Brandon Staley called timeout and they lost. So I don't really get the non-clutch thing. I get it in a sense in like a vacuum, but we have to look at Herbert's career as a whole. He's been given terrible situations. This was the first year his situation was even okay, and then he did sell it. But I really think with Jim Harbaugh, with this team, obviously we don't love their offseason or anything, but I think they're going to continue getting better, and I think that Herbert's going to continue getting better, which you agreed with, and I think that he's going to develop this playoff ability because he's shown he can be clutch when it matters most.
This is right
so it just matters if he plays in the playoffs. That's what I'm saying. That's why he's at 5 instead of higher than that, but I think that he really has potential to be top 3. And again, the only reason he's one spot ahead of you is because you have Mahomes. So like we really have him very similar as of right now.
And where'd you put Stafford at 3?
Yeah, so that was what I thought you were going to be shocked by.
Okay, I felt like I have Stafford. Like I feel like you could put him above Mahomes, but like the top 3 have to be.
He's definitely better than Mahomes.
The top 3 have to be like I don't know how you have Steve Allen and Mahomes and Stafford swapped.
Yeah.
What does Stafford do better than Allen?
I think he's a way better passer than Allen.
I think Allen's a great passer, and like obviously his rushing ability, escapability. Everything he does, improvising, does help with that. So obviously, if they're not moving and they find an open target, Stafford's going to be better.
I think they're close, but here's the main reason I put Stafford above Allen. It's because obviously, if I'm taking one right now, I'm taking Allen because for the future. The future.
I was like,
because he's way younger and Stafford's old. But I'm more confident Stafford's going to win me games. I think he's clutch as all get out. He's one of the only quarterbacks with Burrow and Herbert probably left that can actually play pocket passer and like step up in the pocket, throw those important passes, and he's got the best out route ball we've ever seen. Like all these things that are amazing about him. Obviously, he's out of his prime now, but the main reason that I put Stafford above Allen is Stafford has never been hidden by his team in the playoffs, while Allen was this season. If we remember, we watched the Ravens game. They would not let Allen throw anywhere past like 6 yards downfield. In the Chiefs game, it was the exact same thing. They overran him. They like both games. I think he had over 12 rush attempts. They overran him. They overran the ball on the with the running backs. For some reason, they weren't giving James Cook the ball more when he was cooking. But just like they overran him, they threw the ball short a ton. A lot of screens, a lot of drags, a lot of digs, a lot of ins, a lot of routes that are just really short and easy. And then a lot of first read comms that's like get the ball out fast. And that's not a bad thing. Again, not a bad thing. He's at 4 for a reason. But Stafford has never had to be hidden. And I think they were scared to let Allen make a mistake. Because sometimes when the pressure gets on, Allen does force the ball in spots he shouldn't. His decision-making turns bad in a lot of situations. And that's his biggest weakness. But Stafford, to me, is like, instead of hiding the offense with him and using other parts of his game, they build the offense around him in the big moments. Like, he is the offense in the big moments. Whereas I think Allen wasn't this season. Like, he has been in the past, but they didn't let him this season. And I think that was the only reason, because I think they're very close. But if I'm, like, tell me one drive, you got one drive to go win me this game, easily taking Stafford. Stafford is so clutch, and he's one of the best passers in this league. He's the third best passer in the league for sure, like arm-wise.
Well, I just feel whenever I watch Stafford, like, obviously, I think I agree with you. If I have one drive, I want Stafford. But throughout a game, I feel like he puts the ball in harm's way a lot more than people talk about. Like, I feel like he turns the ball over a lot. Like, there's a lot of times where, like, he'll, like, underthrow, like, a crossing route, and he'll just get jumped. And I'm just like, why? But then also there's times where it's like he throws the ball 50 yards downfield. Robinson has, like, an inch of space, and it's like the most perfect throw you'll ever see.
Yeah.
And, like, obviously that's why he's up here. He has those plays, and for the most part, he does keep the ball safe. But, like, Allen, with his ability to run, he has gotten way better at mitigating turnovers than obviously the beginning of his career.
It's
and
just
even
one season, though.
Yeah, even last year, like 2 years ago, I mean, he was not that good at that. It's basically just this
terrible
one
at
year
it.
where he's like, 28 touchdowns, 6 picks, along with a bunch of rushing stats. But I don't know.
But I think that a big part of that is because they really have shied away from letting him do too much. Like, their whole offense this whole season, especially in the playoffs, though, was focused on not letting him make dumb decisions. And I think the 6 picks, for the most part, I think 4 or 5 of them, I think there was like a couple that weren't. But for the most part, it was him making those dumb bonehead decisions where he thinks he has to do too much. But I actually really like when they made the offensive coordinator switch. I forget what his name is, Brady. When he came in, he did a phenomenal job of calling plays to mitigate the turnovers and mitigate Josh Allen's decision making. Like, he really didn't have to think much. And again, this is not like saying Josh Allen sucks. He doesn't. He's a great quarterback. He's so talented, incredible runner, all these things. I just think that there are parts of his game you really do have to hide. And with Stafford, like, yeah, he makes the occasional turnover just like every quarterback does.
I think he makes it, like, more than
Even
anyone in my top, like, 7.
Even if it's over most guys that are up here, in the big moments, I don't ever see him make bad plays. If that makes sense.
True.
And
like, I think maybe like a couple.
And
times.
Allen, I do. Like, I really think there were quite a few plays in this playoff run where it's like, man, this game would not have been close if Allen clutched up here, clutched up there. Or even with running, there was a lot of, like, his running wasn't as good in the playoffs. So I don't know. I just think Stafford takes a bigger step in the playoffs while they're so close already. Because I think Stafford's a much better passer, and obviously Allen's a much better runner. But I just think, even this year, Stafford could be worse than Allen by a lot. Because he could take a big step back now that he's so old. But this season, I still would have rather take Stafford in a lot of situations.
Interesting. I think that's higher than I've ever seen Stafford ranked.
It
at any
100%
point in
is.
his career.
100%. 100% is. But I love Stafford, and I think
don't know.
I
feel
think
like
he's phenomenal.
Him at 5, that might have gotten some bad comments.
Yeah, I can't wait to see, I can't wait to see what the Herbert comment, or sorry, the Mahomes comments are on this video.
I don't know.
But let's talk about Burrow and Lamar real fast. They're our last 2, right? That we have to talk about?
Yeah. I mean, Burrow, best pure passer in the NFL, I think is actually really close with Lamar, which obviously Lamar is 10 times better at running. And Burrow takes too many sacks. If Burrow did not take as many sacks, I think he would be easily, like, have, like, a really good conversation between him and Lamar. And in our other video, you guys should go check out our top 30 in 2030. Burrow was number 1, and I just think his game's going to age really well. So having him rather than Lamar might be a better player for your franchise to have. But, like, this season, Lamar was definitely a better player. His team won more games. very similar offensive situations. No, that's not even true. I don't know why I said that.
Yeah.
Burrows is way better than Lamar. Lamar's weapons are so overrated. Like, Mark Andrews is an average to slightly above average tight end. Obviously, Likely's like the best tight end too in the NFL. And then he's got Derrick Henry, and his receivers are absolute, like, no stars there. Bateman's underrated, but, like, he might be better than Flowers because of how much I just don't think Flowers is that good.
I completely agree with that take. I think that's not a bad take at all.
And their offensive line got even worse this year. We'll see how he plays. I don't see an argument for Lamar not being the best quarterback in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like you said, Burrow's probably the best pure passer, but it's not that far off. And I was actually going to bring up the same thing you did, where like Lamar is, I actually think there's a pretty decently sized gap between Lamar and Burrow. Well, they're definitely in like the same tier. It's like one's kind of at the bottom of the tier, one's at the top, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think that obviously if I'm taking one, I'm taking Burrow because I think Burrow's going to outlast Lamar by a lot. I think in a couple years already Burrow's going to pass Lamar. I think Burrow has the potential to be better than Lamar. I just don't think Burrow's anywhere near a ceiling yet, which is like crazy to think about that he's this good already. Like this is a dude
already.
Yeah, I mean
he's 28 or 29.
Yeah, I guess not already, but like for his play style, it's kind of an already because he's going to play for 10 more years probably, and like he's going to get better. So. Like, what I mean by already, I guess not like age. I shouldn't say already, but like it's crazy that he's this good before his ceiling, because he's gonna be so good. But that is like one of the biggest things we agree on is that these two guys are far and away better than everybody else.
Yeah.
Like it's not even relatively close to anybody else, in my opinion. I think there's like multiple tiers separating them from anyone else on this list.
Interesting. I'd probably just put one
Just
between
one
him and Allen, and then one after Allen.
That's crazy. You really think a whole tier between Allen and Stafford?
Yeah. I just don't like. They're very similar passers in my opinion. I know you're always like talking about like he was sheltered in the playoffs. I just didn't see that in other games, so I'm not really too worried about it. And Allen was able to play well in those games when he wasn't restricted. Like if Bo Nix was restricted, like I know you're just gonna get really mad at this, but he was restricted in the playoffs, and they like ended up losing because he didn't have a big game. You'd be like, that's because he was restricted. We should have opened up the playbook for my king, Bo Nix.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that Allen didn't have a big game because he sucks. I'm saying Allen didn't have a big game because he was restricted, but I'm saying after losing the playoffs 5 times in a row, whatever it was, then they restricted him. And like their whole, like, you know, you didn't say you saw restrictedness in the rest of the season, but he actually was restricted the rest of the season. It's just less restricted than the playoffs because they were like, they just restricted him from making mistakes. Like they really dumbed down the playbook for him the whole season. And that's what I mean by being restricted. I do understand what you're saying. Like I would say it's because they didn't open up the playbook for Nix, but I think Nix is the type of quarterback that wants the playbook open.
I think Allen wants it open too.
I think Josh Allen is better when it's closed.
That might be fair, but I think he definitely would want to open, obviously.
And I'm not saying he played bad in the playoffs either. I'm just saying that he didn't play up to the level I was wanting him to, for him to be this incredible guy. And he also, like, I think that the quarterback I want to be able to open the playbook. I don't want to ever have to dumb it down. That was kind of my point, is that with Stafford, you wouldn't ever have to do that. Not that he played bad in the playoff game, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But that's my difference. But is there anybody else we want to talk about before we get out of here?
I don't think so. I think we talked about everybody.
Okay, so yeah, that's it for our top 32 projected starters. Let us know what you would change down in the comments. I'm sure we're going to get lots of comments about Patrick Mahomes. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.